Clearly, we come from the position that the majority of African countries really facing an energy crisis. And that means not only loss of productivity for the manufacturers, but as well a severe block into social development for the population. And so often the framework, the policy to create renewable energy is not in place. And so what we try to look into is to find the solutions for the African context to challenge that. And there are many barriers. And we say, yes, there are barriers, but the World Future Council tries to address the solutions. And so there are solutions to finance refits, because it's true that in the African context, we can't just copy and paste the models that have been successful in implementing this policy in the global north. We have to adapt, we have to be creative in financing this policy. There are options in the international arena. For example, the Green Climate Fund could be utilized to finance that policies. Countries like Algeria have used levies on fossil fuel to cross-subsidize renewable energy production. So there are creative ways in financing. But the other thing, probably most important, is that the refit policy is not seen as a standalone tool. It must have a broad coalition, a backing among all stakeholders in government, in the business sector, and in the civil society. And it has to be part of the whole development agenda of a country. And then we think it can work.
And tell us which countries you've focused on then, because you've got this report coming out. Which countries, name them all, which countries have you been focusing your efforts in examining?
We have tried to cover all Africa geographical regions. We've looked into Algeria, into Egypt, Ethiopia, Rwanda, Uganda, then into the special, if you like, issue of South Africa, which has been on the bricks of implementing a refit with a broad coalition backing that policy, but then changed to a bidding system. So we are looking into that. That might turn out as a suitable solution as well. So we cover all geographical regions to really see, from countries with almost 100% electrification, Algeria, Egypt, to small island states. We look into Mauritius as well, who depend 100% on fossil fuel imports. Because it's one continent, but all countries come from such a different position they start off. So.
Sure. And feed-in tariffs, I guess, have been rolled out notably in Germany. It's been a success. UK, about this time last year, there was a big argument about solar feed-in tariffs.
Yeah.
Are they, for your money, are they the most cost-effective way of, I guess, incentivizing renewable energy?
I would definitely say so. And what I always try to emphasize is that before we talk about the actual tariff setting, there are two more, or not more, but two crucial other factors underlying that policy, which is opening the grid to independent power producers without lengthy negotiations and discussions. So that it's just free for all, from household level to big companies coming to set up power plants. And the other is that there are long-term contracts with a cost-effective payment system in place. And that comes even before we talk about the specific tariffs. Because the most African countries still, and that's the case in northern countries as well, have the monopoly on producing electricity, and which is of course a source of income for a government as well. So it's sometimes difficult to move things, but clearly we can see that many African governments have taken up that initiative, and we'd like to support them in that, to say, look, there are solutions, look to your neighbor and see what you can adapt in your local context.
And can you explain a bit some of the challenges that this might face? I mean, perhaps there are many countries which don't have a fully electrified country, so I guess it's all very well having a feed-in tariff somewhere, but if you can't feed into anything, then the electricity is going nowhere. So I've just made that up, but just explain, if you can, just some of the challenges that you feel that this could face.
No, absolutely, that is true, and that is of course something we have to be very well aware of, and that is something that we say the grid extension in many African countries is very limited and often doesn't even go further than the urban areas. So we have looked into Tanzania, for example, which have a specific feed-in tariff. Yeah, it's a bit strange to say feed-in tariff for off-grid, but feed-in tariff models that have worked successfully in Tanzania, where on the community scale, people came together and set up a community grid, which needed regulation and enabling framework and enabling regulation, and that has proven successfully. If communities come together, join with a financier, join with a project developer, that it is not necessarily needed to have the national grid connected to that. But when you draft that off-grid feed-in tariff, you have to be aware that in the next couple of years the national grid might come, and then your installation needs to be able to fit into the national system.